Hi everyone and welcome back. If you take a good look behind me, it seems that summer has left us. You can only see the first row of trees there behind me, but nevertheless there's lots of work to do, so let's do bonsai. So I went in for a cup of tea and some morning toast, and as I've come back out, the day seems to be brightening up very nicely. We've got some nice blue sky, some remnants of the mist there just on the lower horizon, and yeah, I think it's going to be a nice day to get outside and do some bonsai work. Now originally today's video was going to be all about the first of the unboxing series of the bonsai kits, but having got through the first little bit of it, and then it says soak the seeds for 2 days, I've had to rearrange the schedule, put the seeds into soak. So we've got all these jades outside that are desperately needing some work, so today is going to be Jade Day. So first up we have a rather large jade here that was taken as a branch cutting from the mother plant that we have. I'll show you a picture of that. And this basically came off as a branch with a couple of additional sub branches on. And it was put into a shallow pot just to see whether it would do anything, and it did grow quite well, and then subsequently the idea was, you know, we'll have it as a plant, and as you can see, it's grown well fantastically. The leaves are really large and lush. And then the branches, the branches that are now trunks, you know, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll show you them now. So right in here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major trunks which were branches on the old tree, and yeah, this planting has just grown really well. The size of the leaves there, you can see against my hand, are just they're absolutely massive. They're really thick, lush green, and they've just kept growing and growing and growing, to the point where they've outgrown, you know, the intended place for it to be. We did consider repotting it, but that would mean putting it into an even much larger pot, and that's not really what we're about. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this out of its pot and have a look at what the root system's doing, but as you can see, the tops of the trees have grown so well against the trunks that they're just too heavy. You know, they're pulling over, and that's all happened within probably the last month. This one's just managing to stay upright, but all the others, they've just got that much weight on the top. They've just fallen over, and they're struggling to sustain themselves. So what we'll do is we'll reduce the tops, get it out of the pot, and have a look at the root system, and see if we can get it into some sort of bonsai pot or a bonsai training pot. It is going to be rather fun getting it out of this pot, because I don't know if you can see there, the pot sort of curves back in at the top, but the soil level is that low in there that I think we might just get away with being able to lift it straight out. So looking into this jade tree, we've got plenty of branching but not much ramification in some places, and in quite a few of the places the branches don't quite go 1 into 2. You've got places where they go 1 into 3. So I think what we'll do is we will, at the lower branches where they're doing the 1 into 3, we'll be selecting branches to take it down to just the 2, and then 2 into 4 further up. We will remove the branches that we don't want, and as we get further up the tree and the branches are getting a bit leggy and too long for where they are, we'll be trimming them right back and removing all this top heavy growth, which will hopefully allow the tree trunk to stand upright, and give it a fighting chance to do a bit of something. So initially with this one, I'm going to come in and take this branch off here. That's a really nice little cutting on its own, so we'll just put all those to one side that we take off, and we'll consider what we do and do not keep. I've got to be very careful at the moment with the amount of jade cuttings that I keep, because I really do have far too many for where I'm at. So if I swing this round and try to lift it up towards the camera, we've got the single trunk going into 2. It then further reduces up here, and then the ramification further up, there really isn't any. So what we will do is we will come in to here and reduce that back to there, and straight away you can see the branch, the trunk is staying upright a lot better with what's left. It's a real shame to do this, and I do find it very difficult with the jades to do this sort of thing, but it's better for the health of the tree in the long run. And if we want to achieve some sort of jade bonsai forest, we've just got to do it. So we look at this other that's coming off, and we've got 2 sets there. So if we go just above the second, that gives room for ramification off of either of those 2 nodes. And again, we've got a really healthy cut in there that we can put to one side and decide whether or not we're going to do anything with that. As we come further round, we do have the start of ramification on this branch. So where that divides 1 into 2, I will go into here and take it off here, and then across on the other branch there doesn't seem to be anything at the moment, so we'll just reduce that back to here. So I've left quite a lot on, to be fair, and but the trunk is now standing up very well on its own. It's not being pulled over by the weight of the upper branches. So if we now try to look at this one, it's getting a bit busy around here. So I've come round to this side now to try and make sure that I'm not getting in the way of the shot, as I may have done with the first trunk. And basically here we have the one trunk coming up. It divides into 2 here, then it divides again here, and then there's no more ramification right the way up until up there. So we will take this one back for now to here, and off of this branch there's no ramification, so we will just take it back to here, always allowing a bit from the node to die back, and that will just shrivel up and fall off. And then off the other side branch where it goes into two, we'll just take that top bit off there, and then if we go round, they are sort of interfering with each other here, so we can just pull the leaves off at the side. They come off nice and easy. You can just drop these into soil, just lay them on top, keep them misted, nice and humid, and they will sprout a root off, and then off of that join you will normally get another plant. But my new rule book, they're for the bin. So as we come round to the next one, we have the main trunk again coming up, dividing into two, and then on this side no more subdivision, so we'll take it down to the first two leaves, sets of two nodes, leaving them on, so allowing for it to go whichever way we may want it to go. Another nice cut in there that we may or may not do something with. I'm having to be very controlling with what I do. As we look in here, we've got the one trunk again dividing off here, so I'm going to trim that one back to there, and then this one does divide again, but it's all the way up here. So our initial trunk is that, and then we want less and then less and then less, so that's just far too high in the structure, so we will reduce that all the way back to the first two sets of nodes to try and allow for additional ramification. This is a nice little cutting that may be worthwhile trying to use it into some sort of either a single tree or a little forest group compilation. So I'll keep this to one side. You can see there where it was growing up against the window in the room where it was kept, and yeah, it just grew like crazy. So as we come round further again, we do have, again, the branch does divide one into two here. You can't really see, let me, so it divides one into two here, and then it further divides up here. So we're going to reduce these two to somewhere around the second nodes on each branch, allowing for it to keep the vigor back lower and get more ramification. On the main trunk we have one going into three, so we'll make some sort of decision about that. Probably the side one here, because the main trunk that goes straight up again immediately divides again into two, which is a nice short juncture for where we're at. But we'll cut that back, and we'll come back in and have another look at it after we've made the cuts. So up here we'll take it back to here, we'll take this one back to here, and then this main side branch off altogether, which is another nice big cutting, and then we will take this off to here. We will take this one, now we can see divides into those two. There is the beginnings of further dividing up above, but that's not really much good to us. We need it low down, so we're going to come in after maybe the first two sets of nodes again and trim both sides of those for the ramification that we're after. So we'll come in here, take that off, and then we'll come in here and take that off. So that now allows for that to stand up quite a bit more on its own. You can see straight away they're not pulling so much on the side. We may put some support into this. So as we come round to the final trunk to be trimmed at this moment, we can see that off of this trunk we have a number of branches, but they all tend to go the same direction lower down. I think we'll be taking the second one off entirely, because it's just sort of interfering with the lower first main trunk, which we're probably going to reduce back quite short to hopefully get some more branching and ramification from that. So we'll do that now. So I'm going to come in with the pruners and take off that branch. It's a nice cutting that will grow nicely. Just stick that into the soil, keep it humid. You don't have to water it a great deal, especially when the leaves are as lush as this. It will root, or it should root, every time, and you'll have a nice little tree come out of that. Now this little nobule here, that'll dry up and die back, and eventually we'll be able to just ping that off the branch. So you know, that's not too bad at all. Now this branch here that shoots off the side, it's got some nice ramification off it, but it's just in the wrong place. It comes off at too much of an angle for me. So I think what we're going to do is trim it back quite severely to the first couple of nodes from the branch, and we should get some additional growth from here, but if not, we could always remove it entirely. But yeah, we should get some nice growth from there, and then this with the branch structure that it's got will make another nice cutting. So I'll come in now here and take that off to there. So there you go, there's the cutting there. So we've got a nice cutting with some nice branching. Whether it suits well if it goes into a pot and comes out nicely or not, that remains to be seen, but we'll get it into some nice soil and see if it roots. So we're now down to this final structure here, and I think they just need the slightest of trim backs, leaving 2 nodes on. So for this branch here, we will come in here, and then further up we'll allow the same 2 nodes again, reduce that to there, and then around here we've got it dividing and coming up, so we'll leave 2 nodes on there and take that off. So as you can see now, the branches are, or the trunks, sorry, are sort of holding their own, and hopefully they will strengthen up and not allow themselves to be pulled around. I mean, they are still quite young. This has only been growing for 2 or 3 years from the moment it was taken off of the main mother tree that we have, and yeah, it's still a bit fleshy, still a bit soft, and obviously the longer it gets, just the bendier it's going to be. So it'll get a chance now to harden up and survive a little bit better than what its likelihood was. I've just noticed we've got a long branch up here that comes up, divides into two, and then this one shoots off. So I'm just going to take that off the top just to reduce that back. And I mean, she's still she's still a big beast, but we'll see what she looks like out of the pot, and have a look at the roots and see what we can do getting her into a nice bonsai pot. So it does feel quite loose in the pot. In fact, it's very loose. I was going to go around it to start loosening it off, but it's not going to need that at all. The only issue we've got is the amount of soil that's going to be interfering with the way that this pot rounds inwards. It's really not a good idea to, if you're going to have a plant or a tree that you're going to be repotting, to have them in these curved style pots is really not a good idea. So I'm going to try and pull it up and out and see. Oh, she's wanting to spray. I'll get underneath. Oh, there she is. So there we are. All intact. Doesn't look to be too many roots, so it was far from root bound, but it's been in some sort of fibrous composty type soil, so she did that well in this type of soil. Getting her in some bonsai soil is going to be the absolute magic trick, because they really do thrive in bonsai soil. So I'm just going to rake out the top layer of the soil, always going in a outward motion, radial, so that we keep the radial roots, as we always say, and trying to not damage those ones. You can hear the ripping of the crossing roots, those fibrous crossing roots, but we're not too concerned about those roots. The ones we're interested in are all these nice radial roots, of which we seem to have quite a few. Seem a bit dense on the top, so the plant may have been struggling to absorb the water from the top, but we'll get it raked out, see where we're at, see what we've got to work with, and help us make our decision as to whether we have to put it into a training pot, or whether we can get it into a more of a suitable pot for bonsai. I've got the feeling that we're going to be looking at a training pot, but we'll just come to the underneath and start raking out from the underneath. See, there's lots of this soil, and as you can see, the roots are quite shallow, so transferring this into a bonsai pot is probably going to be quite an easy task. We have lots of roots that are just nice and nicely positioned, and for all the foliage that was up above, I was expecting there to be so much more underneath than what we're seeing, but it's what the plant's been living on, it's what the plant's been thriving on, so I think this is, you know, what we've got to work with here. I think I've been spoiled here. I've got a lovely little plane to work with here. If I just show that to the camera. Look at that, how shallow that base is. Absolutely fantastic. I've really happy with how that looks. So I'll just try and rake out the top a little bit more now that we've got the bottom pretty much done. It is very dense up here on the top. There's probably going to be a reason for that. We've got this little sucker here that'll come off, but me and my love for the Jades is stopping me from ripping it out straight away. I think what I might do is leave some of this in and just slip it into a tray pot to try and give it a chance to recover nicely. I think, to be fair, with how that's looking on the root base, I'd like to try and keep that pretty much as is and get it into a tray. It's sort of come together almost too good to be true. So I'll give the roots a little bit of a wash off at the bottom. So I'll give the roots a quick little wash, and we do have some bits of soil that we could do with getting out, but with how delicate some of this is, I think what we're going to need to do is trim the roots to fit a pot, let the roots stay as much as they can. We'll remove some of the roots that are going down and trim back the radial roots as best we can without destroying them. If we just have a look underneath, you know, you can see there that we've got a nice base to work with. There's a couple of roots that just need taken away, that are going down, so we'll get rid of those. Had it been any other time of year, more towards spring, I would have looked to have got more of this soil away. We do have quite a bit of matted root in there, so I am actually, after seeing that, gonna scrape away a bit just to try and get rid of the black dense matted root that I think we really need to get rid of, because that'll be dead. I'll just get rid of as much of that as we can and retain these external radial roots as best we can. So with that done, I'm going to just again get into these downward roots, and I'll wash the bottom off, and I've got a little bit of a pot in mind. We'll pull that into position and see how well it fits in the pot. So I've got a nice little plastic pot here, only a cheap one, made in Taiwan. It comes with the holes already protected by a its own little screen that you can see there, so there's no need to fit a drainage screen in the bottom. So I'll just see how our planting fits in here, and it actually fits really easily. There's a couple of roots that we'll have to trim back or just lay into the pot, but ideally we need to trim them back, put them in a radial position and let them grow. So I've got a scoop for the soil, nice pink one. We'll put a layer of soil into the bottom. It's a nice thin layer, and then we'll have a little mounded section where I plan to put the tree. And then we'll pick up the tree and get that into position. One of them here is slightly pulled away, but we can work with that and get that pushed down. And we'll just take these radial roots back, stopping us from keeping it in the pot nicely. Give it a rake out so that they are nice and radial. It's done me really proud, this planting. I couldn't have asked for anything better. The only thing that we could really do with is some of these that are leaning to be a little bit better positioned, but that's the way it's going to go into the pot. So we'll fill it in. Being careful with the roots that are there. We will have a little poke to work the soil into the roots. So I'm just going to gently work it in with a chopstick. This soil is made up of perlite and an absorbent material that is sifted through to make sure that we don't have the fine particles in there, and allowing us to get plenty of oxygen and air into these roots, making sure that the fertilizer and water and feed can get in there just really nicely. I'm not going to worry too much about getting any moss or anything on this at the moment. I'm just really going to try and get it into a position where it can sit happily. It's very loose at the moment in the pot. I'm going to have to mound up a little bit inside the planting, and I'm just trying to think what I can and can't do with this one that's leaning forward. Worst case scenario, we trim it back even further, but we do have some nice ramification on that already. So the answer might be let it recover, and then we can look to bend the branch straight with some nice thick wire. I don't really like to wire, but we have wired here before. Learning to create bonsai, it's one of the first things that you see being done, wires being wrapped round branches and trunks, and use the 2-wire method to make sure that you know, you anchor it down from one branch to pull another one into position. But yeah, I don't particularly like putting wires on. One of the main reasons is you can leave the wires on inadvertently for slightly too long, and the tree will start to grow around your wire, which will scar the tree. And you know that it takes so long to repair that damage. It's pretty much there for years and years and years. And then if you ever take it anywhere or show people, you know, they're going to see that unsightly scarring of the branch or the tree, and they'll think, you know, what's this guy been doing to this tree? Does he know what he's doing? So here we are. The soil's pretty much worked in now. Turn it around to get it from the other side. Bit more soil in the back. You'll notice that I didn't really spend much time picking a front or a back or anything on this, because the planting kind of took me by surprise, and it was only going to really go into this tray one of two ways. So the front or the back, it was the only way it was going to go into this pot. So there was no point spending time trying to work out what I was going to have as the front or the back. I was only stuck with two options as far as that goes, but it's in there. We just need to give it a water now. It is very loose in there, so I will place some stones and some rocks in there. I do have some laid around, and yeah, we'll get it in the greenhouse, let it recover, and there'll be lots of future updates on this, I'm sure. One thing just to mention, these two branches at the side here are very close together. Whether we can do anything with them going forward, I'm not fully sure, but all I want to do is to get this recovering in the greenhouse, and then we can worry about straightening up that branch that's currently at the rear of the view and straightening up everything else. So yeah, that's as far as we go with this one at the moment. Quite a ruthless attack on the top, but it was that heavy up the top, it needed it, and hopefully we can straighten it up without too much wire. But I do see, looking at it, that we are going to need wire on it. So I'm just going to give it a quick water. Just to run the soil through. Wouldn't normally water a jade heavily, but I just want to clear the soil through and try and let it soak in as much as it can. So we'll let that just run through, and then we can put it in the greenhouse with some stones in place. I'll just put that one in there and a little stone there, just to give it a little bit of balance. So here are all the cuttings that came off of that tree, quite a lot, as you can see. We may pot some of them up, or they may just go. They're very lush, very strong, so I think they'll last very well. So I'll take you just to see the finished tree in the greenhouse. So the tree's on the table in the greenhouse. I'll just give you a quick turn around so you can see what it's looking like. It's a rather drastic change from where it was. It should recover, hopefully it recovers nicely, and it's a planting that we can work with going forward that will turn out to be a nice little jade forest. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again at Let's Do Bonsai.